Hey, Ella.
Hi, he's kicking me out. Hold on. I hate to tell y'all, but it's telling me my internet connection is bad.
Yeah, I was struggling with it this morning as well.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't have a recording. My video is not working, but I guess the audio is working.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the internet, but it.
All right. I just hit start video and that
There you are.
worked. We're off and running.
Another beautiful day in Sky Valley, huh?
I could live with this all summer.
Yeah. This is one of the reasons we're here, right?
Absolutely. It's kind of fun right now watching the like my wife and others deal with the with their flowers and planting and watching them grow, and it's kind of nice riding around in the valley now and seeing all the blooms and
today.
Hey, Holly.
Hey,
Hey, Holly, can you hear me?
I can.
Mr. Gurley just sent me a message and sends his apologies, but he's not going to be able to make the connection today.
Okay, well, he's off the list.
Yep. So, well,
And
don't.
y'all notice that Bill has a new background today.
Yeah, I had to go to a neighbor's house because my internet went down.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Hello, Mr. Dara. Oop. Can't hear you, Tim. She's got to unmute you.
All right. I'm missing a couple of participants and Dan McAfee.
I couldn't hear you, Ella.
She's not
Can't
getting
hear
it.
where I've got a really bad internet connection.
Okay.
This is not working today. I got a really bad connection.
And I think she was trying to explain, I guess Dan McAfee's trying to
Right.
sign on.
I see Jim Curtis.
I can't find,
You can't find him? I see Moody.
can't find him. Tim there, he's here. I'll unmute him.
Yeah, Tim's sending me a message, wants to know why he can't talk.
She hasn't unmuted him yet.
Yeah,
Tell him.
I'm gonna tell him that.
Yeah. Tell him he's being punished.
Stand by, Ella will work on that.
It's not letting me do it. Ah!
Okay,
There he is.
good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Dara.
I'm present. I even put on a shirt so that I would look nice in the camera.
Well, that is so good.
We're really happy
I
about
hate to
that.
tell you, but I can't.
Jamie, that thing's just confusing the hell out of me.
So I'll turn my light.
Turn it down.
Be nice, Tim.
Well, she's listening to it and it's echoing through the whole house.
Ella, we need to unmute David Spears.
Is that better?
Yes,
Yes.
Holly says yes.
Well, Jim Curtis is showing on my screen being muted as well.
Well, what she does is she only unmutes the members as of right now of the committee.
Right.
And she'll explain all that in just a minute.
If she can, Holly, her connection's very poor.
Yeah. If anybody does sign language, we maybe can use them. Jim Curtis is doing sign language for us all now. I don't know what you said, Jim, but it looked good.
I'm sure it's nothing personal, Jim.
Need to unmute David Spears, please.
I don't know, maybe she's still looking for Dan McAfee. And how about Martin Green? Ella says it's kicked her out and she's writing me another message right now.
We can see her.
Now, see, I cannot see her.
Well, I'm glad we have improve broadband on our list of projects, later discussion.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Really a critical thing if we want to attract some new homeowners.
Amen
Well,
to that.
I shared with all of you that message from Doug Hollingsworth talking about the state efforts to
Yep.
Right.
improve broadband, and I'm just wondering if we can kind of use that to kind of camp on trying to get something done here.
Yep.
That was that
that's-
through Matt Gertler's office?
Well, the message I saw was from Doug Hollingsworth.
Oh, Doug Hollingsworth. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. That's on the list.
There's Jim Curtis.
Karen.
Ella, you look muted.
Karen, the answer is yes.
Okay, if y'all can hear me, I'm just gonna let you know that it's saying that my internet connection is weak. It's saying my bandwidth is low. We have a Cat5 line here, so if that's the problem, we've got more stuff, and it's already kicked me out about 4 times. So if I lose you all.
Right. Can you unmute David Spears, please?
David Spears, he's not on my list.
Yes.
Yes, he is. Should be. He's there.
He's not supposed to, I don't have him listed on my list.
Yep. He's part of the committee.
David, how is it listed? Is it
David's-
David's iPad?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. What about Dan McAfee, Martin Green?
Okay, let's see. Dan, I guess maybe this is just him. Let's see. Dan? I don't see him.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you see me?
No.
Okay, if Dan, if you'll click the at the bottom, when you go close to where the picture's at the bottom, it says video. If you'll hit start video, it'll put you on the screen.
See that? Let's see. Whoops. Well, I just lost the picture now.
And the other one is Martin Green.
Yes, ma'am.
Is he showing up? I don't see him.
Is that everybody, Bill, that you can think of?
Yeah, we got David, Tim, Ed, should be Martin, Dan, and Gurley's not going to be on.
Okay.
I can hear y'all, but I can't see anything.
That may be a good thing.
Well, there's no audio visual presentation, so as long as we can hear.
Do you see the video button on the bottom of the screen, Dan?
Bottom left.
I clicked on that and lost everything.
Oh, okay.
So that didn't work.
Well, if you bring your cursor down to the bottom, you should see it, because those of us that have the video, it reads stop video. Of course, we don't want to do that, but you should be able
Dan,
to.
what device are you using?
I'm using my laptop computer.
Okay.
And I had you on video and lost you.
Yeah, it should be bottom left. Little camera with start video.
Well, I guess
Yeah.
the
Let's,
good news is we can hear him.
Don't let me hold you up. I can hear you anyway.
Okay, that's the main thing.
Okay,
Let's-
well,
Let's
I'll
get
go
going.
ahead. All right. Well, welcome to all the members of the Mayoral Advisory Committee, and welcome to all the rest of you all who are here online. These committee members have agreed to serve. They have been approved by the City Council, and they're charged with helping the council by gathering information and input from the community, doing research, and bringing their extensive skill sets to the table to help us work on topics that involve capital funding, and Bill will talk more about that later. Our charter states that once we have established a committee and we've established and approved the committee members, they can make recommendations to the council on certain issues that they're dealing with. They cannot make final decisions. That's up to the council. With that being said, Ella needs to make a few remarks in regards to how we're going to gather input from all those who are watching. Take it away, Ella. Are you there, Ella?
Uh-huh.
Okay, could you go ahead?
I can't hear you. You're breaking up. You're breaking up. I can't hardly hear anybody.
Can you give your comments?
I can't.
All right,
I can't hear anybody.
Okay. I will say what Ella was going to say. She is going.
Everybody is.
She was going to say, if you will type in your comments, she will try to correlate them, because I'm sure we'll have several comments that'll say the same things, and then she will relay those to the committee, and we'll try to answer some of your comments and questions. With that, I'm going to let Bill take it.
Bill is muted.
I just figured it out.
Bill is muted.
Hello, Dan.
Hi. I figured it out.
Let's see. And that's what's happening with
Okay,
this.
can you all hear?
This connection? Okay.
Okay.
All
Go
right.
ahead. Go ahead, Bill.
Muted again.
Bill's muted again.
No, I just unmuted him. Now,
Oh, okay.
try.
Let's
Shoot.
go. Okay. Well, couple of things to add on what Holly said. I mean, back on February 17th, Holly asked each one of us that are on the committee here if we would participate on this, and everybody said yes. So this would be, after approval, this is our first official meeting. Just a couple of things about the committees. The committee can make recommendation to the mayor's office or council. The committee cannot make any binding commitments to anybody. So just want to be clear with that. And all the committee members are citizens. We all live here, and we need much more, as Holly said, we really need as much input from our citizens and taxpayers as possible, so that we can formulate a good go forward plan and make sure that our number one goal remains to do things that benefit the citizens of Sky Valley. And that means not necessarily developers or anybody else, but all of us. It needs to have a benefit, a significant benefit. As I think Ella had mentioned, we want to get some input. It could be comments, could be questions, whatever. And as you type those in, that would be great. And then we'll attempt to get all of those answered. The possible projects we have for consideration, we have more that are on the list. I did not include those for this meeting in the interest of time. But the ones we have here are pretty big discussions. And I know they've been discussed in the past over several administrations. You know, so the decisions we make today really are try to be forward looking, so that we are doing the best we can to ensure the viability of the city of Sky Valley over the next 5, 10 plus years. Because overall, the main concern that we have is, as you know, our revenues are kind of flat over the last few years, but our costs of providing services continue to go up. You know, that's just life in the big city here of the United States. So that's a business model that, you know, has got me a little bit concerned. And so what we want to do is try to make sure that some of these major capital decisions really have a long-term lasting benefit to the viability of the city. And that's the whole purpose of these conversations. So, you know, we were going to talk about the proposal that Harris and Mayoral has. He reached out to me and wanted to come up and sit with Holly and myself and show us his master plan, which I think he showed the last council and probably prior to that other administrations, if you will. So we thought it'd be prudent to listen to what he has to say and try to understand, you know, where his vision might be. And then also kind of connected to that was the sewer system, and that primarily for the valley part of Sky Valley that would enable some more development there. And then if we get to it, we can talk to options for the city-owned building on Highway 246. But the first two, I think we want to make sure we try to have good discussions around those. Any comments from the committee on any of those so far?
Is there any new development on Merrill's since we last met?
No. I sent an email follow-up after Holly and I met with him just to let him know that we were still working on our long-term visions, just trying to keep him a little bit on the hook and didn't want him to run off and do anything rash. So other than that, there's been no new development from their side. One email came from Harrison Jr., who's now running this thing, and he just wanted to know if we would commit to releasing that market study, the feasibility study, and I did not respond to that. So right now it's kind of been on hold with what's going on and this virus thing, which is why I have it on the list here, because you know, the important thing I think for us is in all courtesy and respect to the guy, we owe him an answer whether we're going to move forward or not. And I'll make it clear to everybody listening, there is no commitment or consensus yet that we should do either, move forward or not move forward. It's very clear, you know, that he's doing things that would benefit him. But again, the big question for us is, does his project benefit the citizens of Sky Valley long term?
Bill, could I interrupt for a minute and could you do just a brief summary from his very basic email on what projects he feels at this time he would like to propose?
Yep, that was the first thing, that's next on the agenda. I'm happy to. So real quick, and I'll paraphrase, he is, you know, the biggest part of what he's proposing is to open the ski slope again. And has done a bunch of work, you know, showed all kinds of information from some experts on with the new technology to create snow, et cetera, et cetera. So that was his central piece to what he was proposing. Secondary to that was building a small hotel with some meeting and function space. And he's real clear, as I am, a hotel without some sort of winter demand will not be successful. It's not maintainable or sustainable. So that's a secondary thing to that. The ski slope is what the big thing he's proposing. And then he's also proposing a mix of condo and cottage units along the ski slopes. And then he's got an outfitter, commercial thing, which is similar to what he was doing with Foxhall, where it's kind of a concierge for people who want to do other activities. So that's in a nutshell, that's what his proposal was. He's asking the city to get 100% behind this. He doesn't want to step off unless we're committed as a city to go forward and help make this happen. He also wanted us to contribute $12,500 to the feasibility study, which is half of the estimated cost. And he's asking for a commitment of the city to move forward with the development of phase 1 of the sewer system. Those are his asks of us. So in a nutshell, that's where he's at. He's got a master plan to do this, to have a winter ski and snowboarding. In phase 1, he has a long-term plan to do phase 2, which is expand those slopes and build some ancillary hotel plus some condo units, etc. So you go back through this thing, and a lot of these things he should be paying for himself, in my opinion. The real question that we need to discuss is, does this make sense for us? I mean, having a ski slope operation here in the city, does that really benefit the city, or does that just benefit the developer or the operator of that unit? So I'd like to open up to the committee for that discussion right now, because I think that's central. If the answer is no, and we're going to need a lot of citizen input as well. If the answer is that really doesn't benefit the citizens here, then we need to decide, do we just say no to Harrison, or do we go back with an alternative proposal, maybe to do some condominium units or whatever. So we're this is in its infancy right now, so I think it'd be good I'd like to open up to the committee for comments and discussion.
I personally don't think that the ski slopes in and of themselves would be much of a benefit to Sky Valley. However, the development of chalets or additional housing would grow our tax base. So in that respect, I think he's got a good plan.
Bill, does he realize that in the sewer plan, the collection point is behind the old lodge?
Yes, he does.
He does.
Yes.
And he can live with that.
Yes.
Okay.
Could we tie getting that piece of land for the sewage treatment plant or the pumping station or whatever it's going to be, tie that in with the 12.5 that he's asking for the marketing study or the feasibility study?
Good question. I'll make a note.
Well, I think we have a bunch of balls in the air that we're juggling, and some of the other balls, so to speak, are what's to happen to timeshare, because we don't know how feasible it is for them to continue the way they are.
From a septic standpoint?
Yes. Also, what about if we do decline his offer and not come up with an offer that a development plan that he's willing to participate in? What happens to his property? What will he do with his property? And how will that affect our city?
Well, as he outlined to us, he had a couple of options, right? One was sell the land to somebody else. Unfortunately, that probably be difficult, since can't really do anything with it that would involve any kind of septic. At least that's what we know at this point.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure that there isn't a way to have a septic system for other condos there. His other comment was he's been approached by the Nature Conservancy about making that land a conservation easement, which would give him big IRS tax breaks. It also limits the use, public use of that land, prevents some development in perpetuity, and the land remains, his, although you give up the right to develop that land for any kind of housing or commercial development is primarily what usually happens with those. So that was another option he had. And then, obviously was this master plan. And he could decide just to sit on it, for another 2, 3, 4, 5 years and come back with some other plan. That's what he articulated when we met with him.
My concern would be that if we don't entertain something with him, he's got the only land we've identified for the sewage plant. And what would happen to that?
That's right.
And the other thing we have to consider is the old lodge. What's to happen to the old lodge when the CBC church moves out? Will we have just an empty building that's going to fall apart, or what will happen there also?
Well, yeah, and that's a little unclear. I mean, he indicated in that conversation that, and he also put it in the email he sent over as a follow-up, they would use all or part of that. Personally, knowing the condition of that building, I doubt that happens. I would think he'd probably, if he was going to do something, he'd probably end up knocking that thing down. David, what do you think?
Bill, I agree with that. Harrison's original plan, which I thought was a really good plan, he has about 500 developable units. And that's, from a tax standpoint, regardless of which model we choose, sooner or later, those need to be developed so we have the critical mass to support the club and perhaps some other retail. But his original plan was to tear the lodge down and do a mixed-use development there. And I think that's compatible with the direction that we're going in at the present time. I think to go back to skiing would be problematic, and a lot of that goes to what Holly talked about during the campaign, and that is the vision for Sky Valley. But right now, we're sort of we've had the croquet club voted, I guess, the best in America last year. The golf course is highly rated. We have this beautiful new clubhouse. So we are on the path to be a really upscale retirement and second home community. When you bring skiing, you have a totally different animal. And there you get a lot of day trippers. Even if you had a nice hotel, it would be destroyed by winter activity if you were planning on putting skiers in there. So yeah, I think, Bill, to go back to your original question, I think for him, ultimately, that would be his most appealing option, would be to take that building down and bring part of that hill down to raise the grade there, which was his original thought. But Harrison, when he closed the skiing originally, he said, we can really become a first-class, first-rate golf community, but we will forever be a third-rate ski community. And that is really true. And, technology aside, they're making snow now at Stone Mountain in Atlanta, so you can make it. But what drives skiing is cold weather in Atlanta. If it's warm there and it's a pretty January day and you can play golf, they're not going to hop in the car and come up here. It just doesn't happen.
Thank you. It's also my understanding, back in the day, David, that the city really didn't benefit much from the skiing. It actually cost the city quite a bit of money to deal with the traffic, the parking, the security, the cleanup, et cetera. Is that a fact?
That is correct. There's one way in the Sky Valley, really one way out. You have one crossing on the creek. And when you bring 500 to 1,000 people a day in here, this is a very small little valley, and it put tremendous strain on the community. You could not get to the post office, but as the operator, there was some justification for me because I didn't have the benefit of dues income, which we have now at the club. So that enabled me to take people like Steve Mason, Tom Shalini, and move Steve from being the golf course superintendent to the mountain manager, to take Tom managing a golf operation to managing a ski operation. So it kept it was a way to keep a staff together. But that's no longer in play with our current structure. But I think it's really important that we encourage Harrison. It's taken a decade for him to get back in the mood of doing something with this property. So I think we really need to give a lot of consideration to some alternative ideas that we could really support him in. Regarding sewer, if you have 500 developable units, that has a build-out value of some $35 to $50 million. And when somebody has an appetite to do that, sewer will not be a problem.
And I just
Go ahead, Tim.
I just want to say the same thing. I think we owe it, as Dan talked about, getting back to Mayoral and saying, yeah, we want to work with you. We just can't, and we don't feel comfortable about the ski piece, because unless he can show us or there's someplace we can go, I think it just doesn't go. It's not going to work.
No, it would be like going into Highlands and trying to put a Ferris wheel, on Main Street. It's not compatible development with who we are now. And I think as Bill said earlier, I think if you ask the questions, who's benefiting and does this help the value and quality of life of the current owners of Sky Valley? And I think everything we do, we should look through those lenses to make decisions. And this would be such a radical change in lifestyle that I think every citizen would need to be involved in it, the decision.
Okay.
Agreed.
Ed, any comment?
Just to support what David was sharing with us, he obviously has the experience with the ski folks that come up here, and this is the second time he's kind of explained that to us. So I don't see that as a opportunity for our citizens in Sky Valley. But I would like to see if we could get some development in the way of some more condos or I don't think a hotel thing necessarily will work for the reasons you said earlier. If we don't have some type of winter activities up here, it's going to be hard to support any kind of hotel. But I think Dave referenced that we've pretty much set ourselves as a residential second home community, and that's been working fairly well here in the recent past. Maybe the opportunity is to try and go back to Mayoral to convince him to do some development up here, but maybe he needs to contribute a little bit more as well. I think in the sewer study, when you read that, one of the comments that was made, if we had sewer up here and you hooked up the folks that are in the valley, just having the sewer up here could potentially increase our residents' property values to 30%. But that's equally applicable to Mayoral and all his property as well. So as we pursue, I guess, options here, it's how we can convince Mayoral to maybe contribute a bit more to the sewer opportunity.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is from the committee is no ski. We would like to see probably some other multifamily housing, whether it's chalets or condominiums, et cetera. From your standpoint, do we know for a fact that there's no way to do that development with septic? Would have to be sewer?
Bill, to get the density that he's looking for, 500 units, he would have to have sewer.
Yeah.
Bill, I think the time's come that we've got to quit doing sewer in large volume. You saw what happened this last summer at Valley View. I think anything going forward needs to have sewage, and the county can handle it. They've got huge capacity for sewer. It's just getting it there.
Right.
We have a very dangerous situation with timeshare, and the sewer needs to be part of the future. But that once you have a development partner, that's just it's just part of the expense of developing. Right now, we don't really have a partner, and maybe I think we need to try to convince Harrison to be that partner, and then go from there.
Okay. That kind of answers both of the questions on the Harrison proposal and also the sewer so far. And to be clear, reading that survey, that sewer is a pressurized system being pumped out of a collection area up and over the mountain and tying into Rabun County sewer. So it would service primarily what's right there in the valley. Is my understanding of that correct, David and Tim?
Yeah. Yeah, I think 100 feet of the.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah. So it's not
Anything that you could get pumped into the collection point behind the old lodge then would be pumped out into it. So there's a lot of, probably some of those condos would go by gravity.
right. But it's not a general public thing. It's just for that specific area right there.
Right.
90% homes in Sky Valley are more than adequate. But the great need will be for all the multifamily units that are failing and running out of space to replace.
Septic. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, just to add a little bit, as I think we're kind of transitioning into talking about the sewer. I think if we started today, it's 3.5 years probably before we would be able to start pumping sewage. So it's a fairly long lead time. But our residents that are particularly that would be hooking up here in the valley need to recognize that it'll have a pretty stiff price to pay in order to take care of the whatever carrying costs or loan cost we have in the operations of that sewer system. So your point earlier is we need to make sure that our citizens are all involved in support us doing that. So,
but Ed, I think everybody that is potentially could be tied into that sewer, the timeshares and the condos know that they can't go a whole lot longer without doing something major.
Yep. I don't disagree.
So I guess what I'm hearing so far is, the central question was, do we believe that we need some more development on that land that Harrison has, whether it's Harrison or somebody else? The question is, will that benefit the city if we have that more multifamily housing there or higher density housing?
It'll grow our tax base.
Yeah, I think we really need that.
So that,
You know, again, going back to some comments you made, Bill, you mentioned the Conservancy. Harrison's original plan was to develop property that could be developed, but anything that was even partly questionable would be put into Conservancy. So probably, I think he owns maybe 600 acres now, 650. Almost half of those would go into Conservancy under his original plan.
okay.
And there's nothing wrong with that if it's undeveloped.
You know, rather than,
Right.
oh no, it's great. But
Is
what we
it all
need to do is
developable?
we can never,
David, is it all developable?
no, it's not.
Okay.
Under the mountain guidelines and slope guidelines, probably 60% of his property might be developable.
Okay.
All right. Any other comments before I open it up to questions from our citizens?
I think, Bill, I've heard from several real estate agents here who sell properties in Sky Valley that they get a lot of people coming up here to look at Sky Valley and are disappointed that we don't have newer homes or condos to offer, because that's what they're interested in. So I think that would be great if we could get a developer, if it's Harrison Merrill, to do something like that.
Okay. Ella, do we have any questions from?
I do.
Okay.
Yes, I've got one, I've got several. Let's see. Let's see, can property owners, well, this is about committee, but the other, looks like Mr. Baldrich, says, how long ago did he pull out the ski slope operations? And he wants to know, can we tax the ski operations? He says, I'm all for it. The next comment is from Tina Webb. She said, what is he talking about? Sewer system? Is this for all of Sky Valley?
Well, I'll answer that question. The sewer system is not for all of Sky Valley. It is only for that development area down there. It probably would include the timeshare and any other development that would happen there that Harrison owns. The club.
Would it, the club and, yeah, and
I think
condos.
Valley View would be included as well, wouldn't it?
I think so.
Yes. You could do Valley View on the gravity feed down to the.
Right. Right.
Yep.
Okay, the next question I have is from R. Smalley. It says, how many units are in Valley View to compare to the discussion of the 500 units?
Well, I can answer that. There's 48 units in Valley View.
Oh, okay, all right.
And Ella, maybe David could answer that first question about how long ago it was that the ski slopes were pulled out. Wasn't that a question?
Yes,
Ella, they were closed in 2005.
okay. Let's see. Another one from Carol Daniel. She said, I've heard all sorts of numbers associated with the expense of providing sewer in the millions. And she's also asked, is SDS finalized and how to pay for bringing sewer up here? Question mark. She's asking the question.
First part is the sewer survey, which was done, I think, November 2017, outlined probably the least expensive option was $4.3 million. They also outlined that there were a couple of funds that might be able to be obtained from the state, ARC and One Georgia. And they said that was a maximum of 1.1 million, according to them, plus using some SPLOST money to repair any road any roads that had to be, where pipes had to go across to repair that. And then they had a $2.445 million loan underwritten by the state. So it came up to about 4.3 million. Now that was their estimate in 2017. Obviously, there's a lot of unknowns, so my guess would that it would be more money than that once the thing is finally done.
Okay, the next question I have, it said, would homeowners on the other side of the golf course be connected to the sewer system, or just homes down by the lodge area?
Don't know that. I don't have an answer to that question. I don't know that they could be connected unless it was gravity fed down there. Tim, do you have any insight into that?
I think the study, and I'd have to go back and look at it, just talks about doing the multifamily, do the timeshares that are
Right.
along through there.
Ella,
Okay.
the answer to the other question is no, the SDS has not been finalized.
Okay. This is from Moody Barrick. He said, once property is put into a conservancy, does the land become tax-free?
According to what I've been able to find out so far, based on IRS tax rules, there's tax benefits. I don't know if that means tax-free, tax reduction, or what. But there is
Normally,
that would be the motivation is for the Harrison Mayoral Trust to get some sort of tax break.
okay, my next question from Lita Thompson, where is the development area?
It's essentially where the old lodge is, the CBC church now, the ski slopes. I believe there's some land just in between the golf course and the chapel that he owns. And I think David's got a little bit more insight to that question.
One of the big tracks is there used to be 27 holes of golf here. And so the third 9, which is up Flint Knob Drive, is a key area and combined with the area behind the lodge.
Okay. The next question, what would be the financial obligation of existing property owners? And this is from Benita Dodd.
I think that's undetermined at this point. Part of the recommendation in that sewer study was to have an increase there across the board. Not so sure that's doable or whether we would even support that at this point.
Okay. The next one is the same question. Where is the development area? Let's see, I've got a bunch more down here. It said, this is from Debbie. It says a conservation easement could be managed by the city if Mayoral agrees, and could have passive development such as hiking trails that fit our demographic.
I believe that could be accurate. It all depends on how that agreement is written.
Okay.
Because there is some flexibility in those agreements based on what I've read about it. Obviously, we need to dig in some more.
Okay, this is a question from Gordon. It says, has Mayoral discussed the sharing cost of the sewer system?
He has not, and since he proposed this whole thing to us, we have not gotten back to him with any guidance from the city.
Okay, that's
It's kind of
it
the
so
purpose
far.
of this committee to figure out how we want to respond.
I have a few questions I'd like to ask. Since I've sort of been out of the loop with some of this in your discussions with Mayoral, in reference to the sewer operations and expansion of actually adding of sewer, has there been any determination as far as what the city would be eligible for? Have you reached out to GFER or any of the other entities to see what we would be able to get, or is this?
No, since this thing was presented in November 2017, I'm not aware that anybody has done any work to figure out what kind of grant money or funding would be available.
Yeah, I've got quite a bit of experience with that, and that's one thing that does take a while.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure we get ahead of that. If this is something that's moving forward, that that it can be done in a reasonable amount of time, but it is a lot of paperwork. So I just want to relay that fact. There is a lot to it. So.
Okay, what else, Ella?
That's pretty much my thing. I just want to make sure, because this is the question I keep getting asked. And it's one of the questions that was asked: what kind of obligation are we setting up for the city? I know at this point you don't know, because you don't know how far this is going to go, if it's going to move forward. I just would caution you to make sure that the taxpayers are not the one totally fitting this bill. If Mayoral,
of course, yeah, because
I know y'all don't
We
want
are
that.
taxpayers.
I have
Ella, we
seen-
are taxpayers. We
Hey,
don't
I
want to
know
foot the
that.
bill.
Believe you me, I do know that. But I have watched this firsthand. I have watched water and sewer rates triple within 2 years. So I just want to caution everyone on that.
Yeah, well, nobody wants that to happen for sure.
No, I mean, sewer rates are usually at least 1.5 times that of what the water is. So now you're looking at $50-something. So you're looking at over $100 for just a minimum on water and sewer. Yeah, that would be ridiculous. And
Yeah, I mean, and all of that has to be vetted, before anything,
Right.
goes forward. It has to be shared with the entire community, et cetera. So
right. Yes, you have to go
these
through
are
the
not
paper.
ad hoc decisions. These are very important long-term ones. And
Definitely.
a lot of homework, a lot of pro forma work has.
Yes.
I have a question, maybe David could answer, but I understand that there was another developer that owns some land, I believe back over behind the post office, that actually had created some plans and was going to build some, I'm not sure if they were patio homes or condominiums in that area. Are you familiar with that, Dave Spears?
Behind the chapel.
I'm not sure exactly. I thought it was more behind the post office area, but I forget who mentioned that to me. But if I think they abandoned the plan when the economy went bad, but I'm thinking they still own the land. I don't know if that's something that Ella could verify or not. And I just bring that up. If we try to pursue this sewer thing a little bit further, the more folks that we can find out there that have an interest in it, more sources we have for funding.
The property behind the chapel, somebody asked the question about developable land. That's probably might be the premier track in Sky Valley. It's probably 25 acres up there and just prime multifamily property. The only really nice piece of land that I know about, and Ella could give us an update on this, but there's 20 acres down where the covered bridge is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's originally going to be, in the very first Sky Valley plan, sort of a retail space down there with shops and those kind of things.
Yeah.
But that is not owned by Harrison Mayoral.
I'd have to do some research. I'm actually trying to bring up the tax map to see if I can get this as we're talking. So
Yeah, it's an incredible piece of property.
David, was that property where they were going to do the second entrance into Sky Valley and have a restaurant and so forth?
Have a restaurant. We have drawings of it. It was very impressive, but it did not happen because of the state highway people would not give them a permit to have an entrance there because it's right in that curve. But it's a very level piece of property right at the top of the waterfall.
Yeah.
okay, looking at this, I just think I found the one that you're talking about. It's 22.58 acres, and it is owned by Dillard Load Holdings LLC, because it previously was owned by Sky Mountain Partners LLC. But it looks like back in 2012, it was sold at that point, and it is 22.58 acres. I actually believe this may be some of Harrison's property. And the reason why I say that, because I'm thinking this is another one of his subsidiaries that he has. I think he does own that.
Okay.
Yeah, got another comment. So this person said, I'm assuming that everyone on the city council and this committee are aware that Harrison Mayoral has walked away from Sky Valley in the past. How do we prevent this from happening again, especially with the very real possibility of an impending recession? Any comments, David?
My comment, Bill, is that, he understands branding better than most of us. If you've ever been to Foxhall and some of his properties. And I think we need to update him on what our vision is for Sky Valley and what our branding position is. And just try to, it's been my experience dealing with him over 15 years, that as long as you treat him with respect and that he's a person you can deal with. I'm sure he will not be thrilled to hear a no on the skiing part of it. So I think that it needs to be handled pretty carefully.
Well, getting back to that, David, I think we need to ask him to tell us where we can go and see it in action so that we've got a little better handle on how we feel about it.
You mean the ski part?
Yeah. I mean, is there one up in North Carolina or somewhere that's working? And
well, Cataloochee works really well. And in Boone, most of them there work really well. I mean, it's a really good business. I think for us, the question is compatibility. Because the demographic of the skier is radically different.
right.
We have here in the summertime. But yeah, it would maybe be a starting point, Tim. That's probably a very good idea.
Okay, go ahead, Ed.
Bill, how about if I go back to the county water authority and we see what we can do about dusting up the 2017 proposal about what current costs may be and what funding sources that are available.
I think that would be a great next step.
Okay, because Brendan Thompson, who is the executive director of the water authority, his specialty actually is in funding. He's he got a graduate degree from Georgia Tech, and that was where he specialized and did a lot of consulting. So I think we've got some resources there that can work with Ella on what it may take to get that.
That's great. Got it down. Good next step.
I found the other 10 acres. It's 9.86 acres, and it is owned by Sky Valley Royal Investors LLC.
Where
And they're out
is
of Dahlonega. They're out of Dahlonega. That's the other 10 acres behind the club. Behind not the club, but the old lodge.
any other comments, Ella, that we need to address?
No, I think the last one was the one that he had.
Yeah, there's nothing else so far.
Mm-mm.
All right, so to recap, initially skiing looks like out of the question, but we do want to do something there to benefit, it probably will benefit Sky Valley in terms of multifamily. Suggestion was to look at a couple of ski areas potentially just to see how it's working, although might be useful to do that just to see, but kind of sounds like that's probably not what we want to do going forward. And then Tim's going to work on getting some updates to that survey and look for some funding sources on the sewer side. To pretty much sum it up.
What about his question about paying 50% of the feasibility study?
Yeah, I've got, I don't, personally, I don't like having to do that. You know, feasibility study and economic impact study, especially an economic impact study, would probably be needed. And I'm just conjecturing at this point, as we move forward trying to apply for grants and other funding from the state. And,
If we could tie that into getting that piece of land behind the lodge for the sewage plant, it'd be worth it.
yeah, so yeah, okay. Yeah, and I made a note of those, so that's, I think we'll have to formulate how we go, like David said, how we gently go back to Harrison with, you know, with our ideas and some proposals.
Dan, Dan, I didn't hear what you said, what your comment was.
Well, the only piece of land that has been identified for a sewage plant, whether it's a lift station or a treatment plant of some kind, is Harrison Merrill's property behind the lodge. And my thinking is that, you know, he's looking for 12.5 to help fund the feasibility study. Why don't we tie that into him giving us or selling us that piece of land so that we've at least got that?
Gotcha. Thank you.
It would benefit him and Sky Valley.
And the other thing is that somebody should talk to the Development Authority and to see if they've got any money that maybe, because it's economic development for Rabun County.
True.
Do we have any connections?
That's the new Forward Rabun or something, isn't it?
Yeah,
Have
I
a different.
do. Rick's story. I know Rick.
Yeah, and Claude Dillard is the chairman of the Development Authority. Now that they no longer are dealing with the fruit building, they've got some, they may have some resources.
I can take that one on, you know, Claude, and connect with.
I used to be chairman of the Development Authority, and I'd be glad to help too. If
Okay, I'll let you take the lead. Let me know how I can help.
But I'll be glad to do that if that's what everybody wants. Ella, does that work with you?
I don't think it hurts to investigate for sure.
Okay.
David, did you want to say something?
No.
Oh. Okay.
All right, anything else on that development proposal in the sewer?
When do we meet again?
Good question.
We'll have one more thing on the agenda if we have time to discuss it. Then we can answer that question. Is that okay, Tim?
Yeah, fine.
My only other question regarding this is, are we prepared to go back to Harrison Merrill at this point and tell them where we stand?
No, I think we need to craft and I need to work on crafting what we're going to tell him and how we're going to do it, and then make sure that you know, we're comfortable.
Okay.
We don't want him just to, you know, go off half-cocked.
Well, and I think what we're doing right now is in the way of recommendations that'll go back to the council, and the council then next workshop then can review these things and I guess sign off on what we're doing.
Yep. Sounds good. Is that good with you, Holly?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. All right. The last thing that was on the agenda here was exploring some options for the city-owned building that's on Highway 246. And I'm willing to postpone that discussion in the interest of time if y'all want to do that and give it some more thought, or if anybody's got some specific comments or ideas, we could hear them now. So up to you. Either can adjourn and take that up next meeting, or just continue the discussion.
I'd love to hear it if somebody's got any great ideas for that building.
In all the new marketing plans, is there any talk of rekindling the Welcome Center?
It's potential. And, you know, from my standpoint of the discussions that I've had with Bob, is if a welcome center or an information center, whatever you want to call it, is an integral part of the marketing that is needed and can be tracked from an ROI standpoint, then yes. If it's just to open it, I'm not convinced right now that's the right thing, unless there's a consensus. That's just my idea. I just want to make sure that, you know, from a marketing point, we have a holistic plan that's detailed out on an annual basis with all of the necessary components based on the money we have in the budget for that, and not a bunch of ad hoc actions. So if it's an integral part of that, then I'm all for that.
Do we get enough rent now to maintain it and it's not an expense to the city?
Holly, Ella, I can't
I
remember.
couldn't hear him. I'm cutting out. What was it?
Do we get enough rent from the building on 246 to maintain it? Does that cover our costs?
Barely. Barely, yeah. When we get rent, that's between the taxes, not the taxes, but the utilities and also the insurance on the property. Plus, this past year, we had to put a brand new HVAC unit in there too.
So our income right now is how much, Ella?
Can't remember right off the bat, but hold on.
Well, you had 13,000 in the budget.
About 13,000 a year, which is probably about enough to pay the utilities and maybe cover the tax, not the taxes, but the actual insurance on the property.
What you're telling me is these are not net leases on the property. We're paying all the expenses.
Yeah, we're paying all the expenses.
It's very unusual in a commercial building.
Yes, it is.
Well, I know. Yes.
You know, if we don't do anything else, we probably should review the lease form.
Well, my understanding is that the leases are up later this year. Both tenants maybe want to stay to the end of the year if possible. I'm not sure if that's going to pan out or not, but we'll see.
Well, if we continue to lease that building to those tenants or others, we need to give serious consideration to reviewing that lease form.
Oh, I definitely agree. One of them, as they are now, does not even have a lease.
All righty then. Got that on the list.
That'd be a good job for Dan McAfee.
You think?
Yeah.
I know. Raise your right hand and repeat after us.
It also
I could
too, if you're not sure what you want to do to the building, you could, you know, if you wanted to put it on the market, whatever, just throwing that out there.
The highest and best use for that building, as far as I can see, is as a rental property, and without paying tenants, the value of the building would be significantly reduced. So one thing has to precede the other.
Agreed.
Well, I guess when you're talking about, is there any potential in leasing out the additional space that's between Calderon's office and West?
I think that's one of the things we need to discuss.
The only problem with that is that if you try and do that, we've got to spend an awful lot of money to upgrade restrooms as it is now.
To do what? You were breaking up.
She said to upgrade restrooms,
Oh,
cost a great deal of money.
All right, sounds like we need some more conversation and thought around this. So I would propose now that we take this up in our next meeting and go in a little bit more detail. You know, probably have to do a little more homework here. I agree, you know, with Dan there. You know, my first thought with that building is if we can use it as a source of income, that would be highest and best use. And then you take a part of it to make it, you know, the welcome center. That would be probably the best use of it. I know there was a proposal about potentially moving the city hall offices in there, and not so sure that that's the right thing to do at this point either. I'm not saying one way or another. There's a lot of considerations here, so
Yeah.
I think let's go back and, you know, maybe we can talk to some other folks that y'all know, and let's see if we can get some, you know, maybe there's some ideas out there we're not thinking of right now. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe between now and then, we could get somebody like Dan McAfee and maybe a Bill Otis, but let's go through the structure there and get a good understanding of what it's going to cost us to maintain that building going forward, and what it would cost us if we had to upgrade the bathrooms and so forth for either a tenant or welcome center if we should decide to go that route.
I'd be happy to do that.
Okay. Got it. All right. We had a couple other questions that came through while we were talking. Well, are we providing info regarding Sky Valley at the Rabun County Welcome Center in Clayton? And the answer was that is absolutely going to be a big part of this marketing that we're doing, but I don't think anything's open yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, the comment I've heard, and I've talked to some people there, I don't think Rabun County looks at Sky Valley as a real asset to their visitors' effort. I think we can do more for sure in our marketing with them and that cooperative effort. Because, you know, to go back to David's comment, to be a first-rate, first-class golf resort community is really a big benefit to Rabun County. And that's something I think needs to be brought to the forefront with their marketing as well. So there's probably a lot of opportunities there that we might not have explored fully in the past. I don't know, but we're going to find out.
I believe when the TDA was operating, we were getting a great deal of benefit from them and a lot of marketing. With the new Forward Rabun group, I have no idea.
Yeah, so that's
I'll talk to Rick Story about that when I talk about other things.
Great.
okay.
Well, and remind them, I think Ella, correct me, what did you just wrote a check to them for $8,000, I think. My point being is we contribute a little bit of money to them. We just need to make sure we're getting something back in return, both from our contribution and from the county.
That's a fact.
But let me remind all of you all, I've lived here for a long time in the county. We need to do a better job of letting the county know who we are and what contributions we make by being on boards and supporting things that go on and interface. So I know Dan did a long time with Habitat.
Makes perfect sense. Okay. Anything else? Ella, do you have anything else?
She just texted that she's been kicked off, so I don't know if she can hear us.
Okay, that's probably a sign that we should probably adjourn this committee meeting then.
Yeah, probably.
Is that good with y'all?
What
Yes.
about the next?
And then
Next meeting.
Tim's question was next meeting.
Uh-huh.
You folks tell me when do you think we should get back together?
Should this be a once a month thing?
I think so, at least probably at this point.
Yeah. Because we have a whole lot of other objectives to talk about, don't we, Mr. Oliver?
Yes, ma'am.
Does it need
Okay.
every other week?
What you mean while we've got these busy schedules?
I think we might want to get together within a couple of weeks and, at least try to, make sure that have a discussion maybe a bit more about the Harrison response
Yes.
and get to the point where we're ready to recommend something to the.
I think also it'd be good for us to check all our hairdos every couple of weeks to see how shaggy we all look.
Are you looking at my hair again, Holly?
This
Yes,
goes on
I am.
any longer, it's going to be the 60s all over again.
I think it'll be pretty cool if we all have ponytails.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm gonna have my wife take the dog shear to mine.
Okay. Someone suggested that after our first meeting on Zoom, that we all needed to wear different outfits and have masks on. They thought it would be more interesting, so I thought I'd just pass that on.
Get my old ski mask out.
Yeah.
Bill,
Yes.
do we want to pick a date? And while
Yes.
everybody's here, what's a better time? What is, I guess, a preferred time for these meetings?
My busy schedule, I'm open.
I prefer mornings
Okay.
Me too.
or
Yeah, I do too. We just, because of the requirements to have notice and I wanted to get this meeting as soon as possible. That's why we did it this afternoon. But I agree, like 10 in the morning, I think
That's
Seems to be
a
good.
good time.
That would work for me.
Me too.
So 2 weeks from today would be Friday,
May
May
1st.
1,
May
Yes.
1st.
10 a.m.
Okay with me.
Right.
All right.
And with me.
All
And
right.
we'll see if we can get Will Gurley and Martin up to speed on this also.
All right. Good. Well, thank you all for, I'm sorry, David, go ahead.
are you going to do a recap of this meeting?
Karen, David is taking minutes and she will send them to everyone. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is
Good.
Oh, will those be made available to the public, Holly?
I don't know why not. I don't know what the rule is on that. And I would ask Ella, but she can't talk. So
We have a
I think
website.
so.
Does the city have its website up and running now?
Not yet.
Because that would be the place to post these meetings.
Yes, it would.
Well,
Ella, can you hear us? Nope, she's connected. She's muted. Ella, we
Okay,
can't hear
hold
you.
on. Okay, hold on. I had to change laptops again.
Okay. The question is, we're talking about the minutes that Karen is taking. Can they be posted on our new website?
Ella, you're muted.
You're muted again.
Okay, let's try this again. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Ma'am.
Okay,
Yes.
yes, with our new website, we're not gonna have room to post all these minutes because we're setting these up for council meetings, is what we're preferring to do. Because with the video links that we don't have room to post all these. That's what happened with the previous website. And she said when she started building these, we need to limit what all we're putting on there is with all this kind of information. If somebody wants them, once they get done and you all have signed off on them, they can do an open records request for that. But we will not be posting these minutes or the videos on our new website for these meetings.
No, Holly, I'll go back to you with it. Maybe they consider emailing those minutes out.
You mean the city to email them out?
Yeah.
What do you think of that, Ella?
We could do that. Once you all sign off on them, we could email them out.
I think that would be good.
Yeah,
What
I
do
do
you
too.
all
This
think?
is important stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So essentially attaching to the next agenda that we put out.
No, they would be separate. It would need to be separate.
Well, just as long as the people get the information, because this really is important to the future of Sky Valley, I think that would be great if we could do that. Any other comments or questions?
Does Bill need a motion to adjourn?
No, he can
No.
just say goodbye.
You could just cut us off.
Bye.
All right.
Move.
See y'all later.
Bye.
Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you all very much.
Bye-bye.